Okay, a couple tips about making and winding coils. If you look at this bobbin, there's a hole in the bobbin right there, and down here you can see where epoxy came up through that hole, and here it came up through the hole, and here it came up through the hole. When I put the core in there, and the core's sticking out, the epoxy wants to come through these holes, and then it gets all over your wire. So I always take plumber's tape and wrap this with plumber's tape, and then it'll come through a little bit, but it'll stay underneath the plumber's tape and won't get all over my wire, because once it comes through here, it'll coat several layers of wire and just totally destroy your wire. Now, once you've got this thing wound, it's very difficult to do anything with it. Like, you want to put it back in the coil holder and take the wire off of it. Well, how do you do that? Well, here's what I do. If you look at my coils, you'll see that it has two little holes in this end and two little holes in this end. You can actually look through the hole and see the wire in there. I have a jig right here. This one has an inset in it, and the core of the coil actually fits into that hole right there, and then the coil sits in here. So it rides in there with the core of the coil into that little hole. And then on this end, there are two of those pins that stick out here and here that fit into the holes in the coil. And this is a neodymium magnet, which is attracted to the iron core of the coil. And this goes on the other end, and this piece that sticks out right here goes into the drill. And now I can spin this thing if I want to, or I can just let it freewheel and you know, pull the wire off of it fairly easily. These are actually a little bit thicker than they need to be. I've been experimenting. Here's some that are thinner. The head of the coil, the head of the bobbin just barely fits in there, and then the two pins that stick out, and then the neodymium magnet. And this one worked pretty good, but you can see I didn't do a very good job of cutting it. And so right there wasn't anything to support it. But it needs to be it needs to stick out a little bit further than this one to hold the coil in place, but it doesn't need to stick out as far as these do. So it's just a little bit of experimenting I've done with this. Here's the other half of that one, where the core of the coil actually fits into there, and there's the two pins right there that would stick into the holes in the coil. So this is just some accessories to my drilling setup. And then there's my stand where all my different coils ride when I'm winding, and then my counter right there. So this is my coil winding setup. It's on top of a bench over here in the corner of my shop.